You're back with me, Dan, on Monday afternoon. I'm going through the weekend's fixtures today, previewing the results. I've also got Mitchell on, who's a lifelong Leeds fan, talking about the Liverpool versus Leeds game that we previewed on the live stream on Saturday night. So yeah, if you fancy getting involved, give us your opinions on the weekend's results. Obviously, we've got two games tonight. Sheffield United versus Wolves. Wolves are currently 2-0 up. And we've also got Brighton versus Chelsea tonight as well. Unfortunately, we were doing a live stream watch along for those two games. But yeah, we've also got the live draw tonight for the competition that was run on Saturday night. If you did join the live stream, all you have to do was like and share the stream and answer the question in the live stream. And I'll go into further details later on in this live stream. So yeah, just to preview, obviously, the games that were happened over the weekend. Obviously, we had the first fixture of the opening Premier League weekend, Fulham versus Arsenal. Arsenal being the victors 3-0. Arsenal looked very dominating in this game, and my dark horse is to finish in the top four this season. The transfer of Willian from Chelsea on a free. I can't believe anyone else apart from Arsenal had not gone in for him, to be honest. Because for me, he's one of the stand-up performers for midfielders in the season. His free kicks, his corner taking ability is second to none. I know he is the wrong side of 30. We all know this, but on a free transfer for a couple of seasons, yeah, I think he was worth a gamble. And yeah, so yeah, Arsenal, my dark horses for top four this season. Crystal Palace, victors over Southampton 1-0. Wilfried Zaha with a goal. Obviously, it's imperative until the end of the transfer window that Crystal Palace keep hold of Wilfried Zaha, because he is one of their main attacking threats going forward. Obviously, he has his own ambitions for playing in the top four. So yeah, he's fighting that Crystal Palace keep hold of Wilfried Zaha. I think they're in for a few other players. If they can add to the squad then and keep hold of Wilfried Zaha, then great guns for Crystal Palace. But for me, they're teetering around 16th, 17th place, flirting with relegation this season. Possibly to go down. David Tatslall, mercenary. I'm assuming you're. Thanks for joining the stream, Dave. I'm assuming you're talking about Willian being a mercenary, but you know he wanted a 3-year contract at Chelsea. Chelsea were willing to give him that contract, and Arsenal were. So if you put yourself in Willian's shoes, would you rather stay at Chelsea for 2 years or have that security for yourself and that 3 years with an option for a further year at Arsenal? I mean, obviously with the players like Lacazette and Aubameyang, and possibly if Ozil comes back into the frame, but we just don't know these days. He's too busy playing Fortnite apparently. But yeah, it was quite an exciting project under Arteta. I think he's more adept of tactics with going forward than he is Frank Lampard. So for me, great move by Willian. I'm not too sure a mercenary, a bit too far-fetched, but everyone has their own opinion, and you're welcome to it. Zaha back to United if you don't get Sancho. I was thinking about this. But then everyone was talking about Adama Traore, and obviously Zaha's obviously been at United under the Moyes era. Obviously didn't work out, and it was not too sure about Wilfried Zaha back at United. I don't think they'll revisit that one, because I think the Adama Traore links, if you don't get Sancho, is more prevalent. But if you want to give your opinion on Traore, or do you think you'll get Sancho eventually? I mean, obviously you might have to wait a season until you get Sancho, but we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, the Liverpool beat Leeds 4-3 in the end. Cracking game, this one. It was we covered it on the live stream on Saturday night at the Royal in Morley in Leeds. Great pub. If you ever get a chance to go and visit, do have a visit. It's a great atmosphere. David the Landlady is more than welcome. And yeah, it was a fantastic night. And if you join the live stream, I'm sure you've seen Dylan off his nut. He had a few pints, so yeah, he had a great time. But the Liverpool Leeds game, we'll speak about that with Mitchell in a few minutes' time. Yeah, just so yeah, bear with us on that one. Newcastle away win at West Ham 2-0. Callum Wilson and Jeff Hendrick with the goals. I'm a big fan of Callum Wilson. I'm surprised not many other teams. Well, obviously he was linked with Aston Villa, but in my eyes, Newcastle is a far bigger team than Aston Villa in terms of fan base and the size and reach of the club. So great move by Callum Wilson. I can see him prospering at Newcastle with the service that I get, and obviously with Ryan Fraser back in the fray, I think he'll flourish. So I know a few Newcastle fans are a bit less than optimistic before the signings were made. With obviously Jamal Lewis and Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson through the door. Maybe they might keep Matt Ritchie, might go back to Bournemouth. I'm not too sure yet. We'll have to see how that peters out. Obviously, the transfer window doesn't finish until mid-October, so that should be an interesting watch. Leicester away win at West Brom 3-0. Jamie Vardy back on the score sheet once more. Obviously, the Golden Boot winner from last season. Yeah, he just can't stop scoring. The twilight years of his football career, even though he only picked up professional football at 25. Yeah, he's just keeps on rolling. I think I'm not too sure about Leicester's defence. Possibly a bit weak in midfield to go for the top four, but this is football. In 2015, the Premier League champions. So who knows? Everton won away win at Tottenham. Yeah, it's not going right for Mourinho at the minute, is it, team? I think he's a manager on his way out. I think he's past his best. You give us your thoughts, give us your opinion. For me, I think I think football's moved ahead of him, and I think his old tactics are out in the wash really now. Harry Kane's been sorted for a transfer away, so yeah, I mean, looking a bit bleak for Tottenham at the minute. I mean, Everton, obviously they've had James Rodriguez through the door, Abdoulaye Doucouré through the door, Richarlison's still there, Calvert-Lewin looks as potent as obviously he scored the winner at the weekend, yesterday. Bullet header, great header. I think he's one to watch, but he just needs the service, I suppose. And obviously we've got a couple of games on tonight. Wolves are beating Sheffield United at the minute 2-0. Half an hour of the game left to go, and then we've got Brighton versus Chelsea later on at 8:15. So yeah, it's good for the Premier League to be back, and it's good for open debate about it, and it's glad to get everyone's opinion on it. I'm now going to be joined in the stream by Mitchell, who is a lifelong Leeds fan. Hey Mitchell, how are you?
Hello, Dan. You all right?
Yeah, not bad, pal. Not bad at all. Yeah, so it was an unfortunate result on Saturday night for you guys. Obviously getting beat 4-3 at Anfield, but from what I've seen, optimism is growing on the wrong side of the Pennines. But yeah, it's a good platform to build on.
Yeah, and absolutely. I thought we gave a good account of ourselves over the course of the game. I thought the first 5-10 minutes you could see there was a couple of nerves in there. Not quite used to the system as we'd probably have liked to have been with the proper pre-season, but again, the same for everyone. Obviously, we had Robin Koch and Pascal Strike at the back. So, two centre-backs that hadn't played together before. So, if you've known Ben White and Liam Cooper, both centre-backs, massive part of why we were promoted last season. So, to not have any of them was really disappointing. So, it was a learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you had 3 failed bids for Ben White. Obviously, he's going to stay with Brighton now for the foreseeable. What's your thoughts on it? Are you gutted that you couldn't get him back? I mean, do you think a loan deal could have been possible? But obviously, it seems as though Brighton might incorporate him into the first 11.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently we're a rival to them, so that kind of it baffled me a little bit. I think they're just meant in terms of table, but I'm not quite sure about that one either. Like I say, that again, 3 bids worth, around 25 to 30 million for me. It was the maximum. For me, he's not worth anything like that. When when they're putting the bids in for these players, you've almost got to have a look at it and say, have they been capped at the international level? No, he hasn't. Has he played in the Premier League? Again, no. At this moment in time, no, he hasn't. So you can't really go above 20 million for my liking.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I think Brighton's stance on it is obviously they had a poor end of season last season. What they finished 16th, 15th last season. And it seems as though they need all the help they can get, really. I mean, obviously, Ben White has played every single minute for you guys in the Championship. He scored that great goal against Charlton last game of the season. I think it's unfortunate the fact that obviously he's done so well for you guys in the Championship, and then Brighton have gone, wait a second, we've got a player on our hands here, we'll keep him. And then obviously Leeds are like, oh my God, no, we won't play that sort of thing. So I mean, it's a bit unfortunate, but this cock made a few chances, and he made a few errors, but like I say, platform to build on.
Yeah, I mean, again, I found it was a harsh reality for Robin. I felt a little bit sorry for him in the first 4 minutes to get given away a penalty that was just not quite simply a penalty. In any other circumstance, whether it hits his arm, fair enough, that's fine. But the actual rule book says if it does take a ricochet off the arm, leg, or anywhere part of the body onto a position like the arm, where obviously it's illegal, or you get penalised in another part of the game, it's unfair. So for Michael Oliver to just he almost looked for it, did Michael Oliver, and that was a bit I was a bit upset about that. And then VAR didn't really say to him, "Go and have a look at it," which again was disappointing.
Yeah, so my instant reaction was penalty, because obviously in real time all I can see is an arm outstretched, balls at the arm, it's a penalty. And then obviously when I've looked back at the replay, he's hit his thigh onto his arm. I mean, obviously his arm's in an unnatural position as it is. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't help the situation. But as you rightly say, the rule book says if it's a collision to the other part of the body, to the arm, then it shouldn't be a pen. But I think there's 3 new rules come out in the Premier League this season. They're talking about a shirt line is if it's above that, it's not handball. So the upper part of the arm's not a handball. So
I don't think they know themselves, and I think that's the worst thing about it. There's no definite answer. I mean, we saw Trent Alexander-Arnold last season against Manchester City, and it was as clear as that as a penalty for Manchester City. They go up the other end and score. So maybe VAR need to just have a look at themselves, the officials, and this is why they're getting so many controversial comments about it all.
Yeah. It rumbles on, doesn't it? It rumbles on. But I mean, looking at Bielsa's tactics against Liverpool, I think those are the tactics that he's going to build on going forward. I mean, obviously, man for man. I was looking at Monday Night Football tonight with Gene Evan and Carragher, and obviously they were looking at the man to man. Obviously, Calvin Phillips was dropping back in defence once Ronaldo pushed forward. And do you think that's a tactic he'll keep on during the Premier League season?
Well, with him obviously coming to Leeds, and he's now been manager of Leeds United for over 100 games, we've not ever changed the system. So Lee's cliche comment was, a reporter asked him if you got a plan B, Marcelo. The answer was just to make plan A better. And as cliche as that was at the time, it is true. That is exactly what he does. So, you always see both centre halves, whether it's Koch or, it could be the milkman. They would always go out, when the goalkeeper picks it up, they always drift out wide on the edge of the box, both the centre-backs. Then you have a clear distributor then for Calvin Phillips, who's got all the time in the world. You could almost put a Sophia around him. And that's, like I say, he's got all the time. And then almost, on the halfway line, when Phillips picks it up in that area, we've got 5 attackers that are penned in Liverpool's half. So it almost causes a little bit of confusion for them, because Jordan Henderson didn't really quite know whether to go towards Phillips or to stay back. So they hadn't quite done their analysis on that side of things. And as we saw, Jack Harrison picked up the ball, skinned past Trent Alexander-Arnold, and did what he did. So Very happy.
Yeah, it was a great finish. I mean, obviously the Bamford obviously scored as well, and I think the chance he had a couple of minutes before he actually scored. It was sort of it's like he learned from his mistake. He was sort of in the same area of the pitch, and he just chips it over Alisson, and obviously he thinks it was 2-2 apiece. But yeah, it was it's a great play from you guys, and you know what? I can't wait to watch Leeds going forward, and I can't believe I'm saying that. You know, I'm not a United fan, I'm a City fan, but you know, with Leeds United, for me, it's long overdue in the Premier League. I'm obviously 16 years away. I mean, Mitchell, take me back 4 or 5 weeks when you've just been promoted to the Premier League. What was your instant reaction? How would you feel?
Well, when we first got promoted, my first thoughts was, how can we beat Derby County and Charlton Athletic? Jokes aside, absolutely ecstatic. You know, I thought it's a club that should be back in the Premier League, and you know, if we hadn't obviously finished the season, it wouldn't have felt quite as right. So, you know, to then hit the 93-point mark and get as many points as we did, which for me, you know, we were 10 points clear in the end. It honestly didn't flatter us. I thought there's been a lot of decisions throughout the season and chances missed. Obviously, Bamford, obviously, as you probably know, he was in the main part of that. But I do feel Leeds United Football Club, like you say, it's long overdue. It's a football club that drives off its history. And going forward now under, you know, almost like a Don Revie type 2 manager with, you know, like when Revie had his dossiers and things like that. Bielsa is very much like that. He's always thinking football, and he uploads a lot of quotes on Twitter, which I'm not sure a lot of people probably know about. But I'm always constantly, you know, you always see these things, and you know, almost, you know, while you're asleep, I'm working, and you know, things on the basis lines, and you know, almost when we've been beat to a Fulham side that we should have beaten at Craven Cottage to a penalty that was just not a penalty. You know, he almost says, accept the injustice, swallow the poison, everything is balanced in the end. Like almost he can see forward and almost see what's going to happen in the end.
Yeah, I mean, he must be tearing his hair out. I mean, obviously, it was 3-3 going into the last 9 minutes, and then Rodrigo dangles a leg, and it's a penalty. You know what I mean? It must be so frustrating as a manager, because I'm assuming with Marco Bielsa or Marcelo Bielsa, I'm going to pronounce it. It's obviously gone into great detail and studied Liverpool for probably weeks on weeks and weeks and weeks. And then obviously the David striker's come on the pitch, he's dangled a leg and he's lost the game. Do you know what I mean? It must. No one of these managers go great.
I think to almost cancel Liverpool out from an open play point of view, we would have been extremely delighted with. But to concede 4 goals that were all from, you know, some sort of set piece, whether it was a free kick or you know, again, 2 penalties. To go to Anfield and play fearless football and, you know, attacking. That's how we will play all season. We might get hammered 1 or 2 times, but I'm telling you now, we won't be changing anything. It'll be the same philosophy, same style, same intensity, and we're gonna scare a lot of defences. We're gonna make them feel really uncomfortable with how fit we are. We've got 3 or 4 training sessions per day before the matches during the week. So there's no stop for Leeds. And obviously into the transfer window, we're still waiting on 2 or 3 signings. I was
going to say you've been linked with Ryan Kent from Rangers. I mean, obviously he's a speed merchant from what I've seen. Him and Helder Costa would be great on both the flanks, and obviously Rodrigo in the middle, and maybe Bamford and Pablo Hernandez behind him. But like I say, it'd be interesting to see what Radzini's got up his sleeve towards the end of the transfer window, and it'll be, like I said, it'd be great to watch Leeds through this Premier League season.
Absolutely. And I think obviously Andre's got a really good plan in place. And when he first arrived to Leeds United, he said he wants to make it an even bigger institution. You know, almost sleeping giant. How do we get it reawoken? Yeah. And there were mistakes made when he first came to the club. You know, we obviously had Gary Monk in charge, who put a good foundation in place at the club. And we built on those foundations under him, and it kept building and building. And we did slip off, but 75 points on that 2017-18 season, or 16-17 season, I think it was. You would have felt it was enough to get in the playoffs, but obviously Fulham had been on a great run and overtook. Yeah. So the next season, again, that was probably the biggest mistake from all the board. You know, they underestimated it, started bringing in people we'd never really heard of. Obviously, Thomas Christensen, the coach. And then you can't come into a club and start making swinging changes after what had been deemed for so many years as a successful season. What they should have done was obviously just bring in a couple of players and then see how it gets on. But to sell the likes of Chris Wood, who had obviously scored 30 goals and over 50% of the league goals that season, it was quite a blow. So to then bring in Marcello and do what he's done, he's been nothing short of a miracle and phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you're a little bit frustrated with the getting rid of Chris Wood there. Obviously, he did score 30 goals for you in the league, but maybe Bielsa was speaking to Andrea and saying, look, these are the type of players I'm looking for, and if you're going to bring me in, I want this sort of culture at Leeds, and maybe you bit off a couple of seasons just to write it off and go, right, this is philosophy I want to bring into Leeds. This is how we're going to play. And then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, I mean, obviously at the time it was under Christensen and Victor Orta, who were, again, I'm not going to deny, made a lot of mistakes. And, some were unforgivable at the time, I felt. But obviously now we're in another period where, you almost have to try and forgive and forget because we're now where we wanted to be all along. So from that regard, it's great. But I think with Chris Wood, he was one of those players that was always, he always looked an encouraging player. Even when he wasn't at his best, he always gave 100% for the team, just as much as what Bamford did, and put himself about, and was quite a physical presence. So, to lose out on a 30-goal season striker, you almost think, how do we replace that? And at the time, we didn't. So, we brought in, obviously, Bamford for 7 to 10 million. Has he lived up to expectations? Yeah. Not really, not for me just yet. I'm going to see how he gets on this season. But obviously there is good cover there now, and we're just going to have to wait and see, really. The time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's when the Leeds fans back at Ellen Road as soon as possible, obviously with this COVID shenanigan rolling on. I bet it must be hurting yourself and a lot of Leeds fans to not see this Leeds team in the Premier League for the first time in 16 years. It must be killing us.
It really is. It's like a hot knife through butter without sounding too cliche. It is very painful, and to not really witness the celebrations was very, it was quite emotional when we did lift up the cup with obviously Liam Cooper and the rest of the team. It almost felt a bit too real to be Leeds United, obviously. So it was like I say, to celebrate from home. It did take the edge off it. I'm not going to lie, but I think once we get back in there, it will completely make up for this. And obviously, we've not celebrated the real thing yet, because that'll be when we win the Premier League.
Well, according to the rumours, you might get that Haaland from Dortmund, because apparently he was born in Leeds and he wants to win the league with Leeds. So that'll be a coup. But no, speaking of those celebrations, I mean, standing 4-4-2. I mean, me and a friend was at Ellen Road that night for when you beat Charlton and on the bus, and I was in the middle of the crowd, and I could sense the. So I think it was more relief than anything else that you'd actually made it to the promised land and you got yourself back to where you belong. I mean, obviously you can see those interviews on our YouTube channel now. So again, like I say, there was a lot of smiling, happy faces you can imagine. But again, there was quite a lot of people who were relieved and quite thankful that Bielsa had came in and sort of saved them. I think he's got himself like a god status now in Leeds. He's got his, Bielsa way, and he's got his own murals on side of buildings and stuff like that. So I think he'll be remembered for a few years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to your point of a lot of relief, especially for the board, because it was made clear prior to that in that summer that, what we've just had beforehand when we were in the Championship, that if we hadn't have gone up, there would have been a lot of restructuring financially. That probably would have had to sell up, really, Andrea. In terms of, the turnover, it was fantastic. We obviously 48 million, really good. But there was other sides to it where, the FFP came into play and things weren't quite adding up. So obviously to get up like we did was fantastic. To obviously then balance the books, essentially, we would have had to get rid of top assets, the likes of Calvin Phillips. We obviously saw Pontus Jansson go prior to the summer, which again didn't quite sit right with me for a player of his calibre going for 5.5 million And again, we go back to the international status. He's captain Sweden at a World Cup. So, we've obviously got to take things like this into account. So I just think from a fan's point of view, how much I adored Pontus, and obviously there were plans in place for me to go and meet him as well, which was really disappointing. So for when he left, it didn't quite sit right. There was a personality clash there with Marcelo.
Speaking of Pontus Johansson, do you think it was because of the Aston Villa game? Do you think Leeds got rid of him? Because obviously there was the incident with the goal, and he was a bit. He didn't want Aston Villa to equalise.
Well,
and I get his mentality, his winner's mentality, and it's a playoff semi-final. He wants to get to the final, get to the Premier League. I understand his emotion and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, do you think Leeds United got rid of him because of that, or do you think it was other points?
I think it covers over the whole of the season. I think if he was to just be, to have got rid of him just for that reason, simply, I don't think that would be enough. There were rumours that he wanted a bit of an extra holiday due to the World Cup being I think it was so tight, and Marcelo didn't like that. He wants workers. If you don't buy into the plan, then you go. And we've seen that with Janssen. There were obviously rumours as well that he wouldn't have an injection because he obviously got injured prior to the Derby second leg. So he wouldn't have his injection, and because of that, he felt like he was undermining certain people. And obviously, because then Bielsa put him on the bench. For me, again, that was another mistake of Marcelo's, and not a lot of people will like to hear this, but you don't put your internationals on the bench for a makeshift left back, right back, centre back, in Gaetano Berardi. And ultimately, that day he did get sent off, so it was very costly.
What's next for Leeds? I mean, obviously, what you want to keep your Premier League status this season. If that's achieved, where do you think you can go?
I think a lot of people tell me this. Your world's your oyster, and I think obviously for Leeds United Football Club, it really is. I think we ought to be really, obviously this season it's all about stabilising, putting a new fresh foundation in place, still playing the great football we have been, and almost see where it takes us from here. But I do really believe that in the ultimate coming years we can achieve a top 6 finish, almost narrow that gap. We will need to spend a little bit of cash. And when I say a little bit, I don't mean a couple of million. I mean, we will need to get to a little bit. But at the same time, when we've got the management team we sit down together, and then obviously Marcelo and Victor will, hopefully be still here and have a look at it and almost see where we can obviously sharpen up and how we can narrow that gap between, your top 6.
And one final question is, what fixtures are you looking forward to this season?
Well, I think the standout one is obviously Manchester United away and at home. I think I mentioned away first because obviously I want to go to Old Trafford again, take the clean sheet and get the 1-0 win. That would be splendid, but I don't think there will be a clean sheet. I think Leeds will be firing at them. We'll make it uncomfortable. Intensity will be there, regardless of whether there's a crowd in. I do hope there is a crowd in, and I'm not just saying, for Leeds fans to be there, Man U fans, I want them to see and feel a bit uncomfortable as well because, like I've said prior to this, we are a team that play with intense, and we don't go there to try and not get beat. We'll go there to try and win the game. And if we went there trying not to get beat, Marcelo, and we did win, Marcelo wouldn't really, he'd be probably happy, but he wouldn't be satisfied with the performance. And that's what we build off, these bases of performances. So, the Manchester United, Chelsea's, all that sort of thing. I'm not too, with Manchester City, no disrespect to them, I've never really, obviously with Guardiola, he's one of my favourite managers in the world. So, for them to come to Ellen Road, and I wish I could have seen him, but I don't think it's going to happen now. But, I would like to play against them sort of teams, see where we're at, because obviously quite a similar style. But, it's more Manchester United I'm really looking forward to.
I'm sure you and the Leicester Leeds fan base would agree with you there. Obviously, I don't think money would be a problem going forward because obviously I've seen the reports of. Are you all right? You there?
It's kind of froze, I think.
You there?
I think it's froze.
I can see you. You hear me? Yeah?
That better.
I can hear you. I can
Yeah,
see.
that's that. Yeah.
You good, yeah? I was going to say, I don't think
it's just slightly breaking up, I think.
Yeah. Strange. I think I've got you back now.
Slightly.
You got it?
Yeah. That's great.
You got it, yeah?
Yeah, that's better.
Right, okay. And I was going to say
Yeah.
I don't think the money and the rest of it are going to be concerning, because obviously I've seen the record shirt sales for the home shirt and whatnot. What do you make of your away shirt? I think it was in the stores today. You there, Mitchell?
Up again. Yeah, it's cut out again, I think, mate.
I think we've lost Mitchell there.
Hello. Oh, I'm not sure if it's my end or.
1 second, guys. Technology, yeah. You back? Got you?
Yeah, that's better. I don't know what happened.
Technology these days, honestly.
Honestly, yeah.
No, I was going to say, just on a final point, I don't think money and you know, all the revenues and etc. going forward will be a problem for you guys, because I've seen a lot of news reports regarding the home shirt, and obviously it's record sales and all the rest of it. So obviously your fan base is there. We know you're a sleeping giant of English football. What do you make of your away shirt? I think it's just been in stores today, I think.
Yeah. Again, I'm not sure, if I'm honest. I think obviously it's not quite traditional. I am one of the traditionalists, and you know, obviously last year, you know, how can we complain when Angus Kinnear's coming out and saying that last year's away shirt was one of the best away selling, I think, ever.
Yeah.
I think with it being so, you know, not conventional, not quite Leeds, and with the pink and things like that, it obviously, if they're making money, they're not really too bothered about what it looks like. It could almost look like an old car broken. If it makes money, they will obviously do it. But at the same time, I would like to have seen a little bit more blue and yellow, if I'm honest. You know, but like I say, you know, it's not too bad. It's not the worst wake in the world. I prefer it this year than to last. But again, the yellow and blue needs to be there for me.
At least it's better than Man City's third kit. I mean,
well, we'll not go on to that one, I don't think.
Sight for sore eyes. But yeah, great discussion, Mitchell. Thanks again for coming on. I'm sure I'll speak to you again at many points throughout the season. And yeah, I don't think I need to say good luck for the season, because looking at the Anfield performance, I think you'll give most teams a run for the money this season. And yeah, good luck, mate. And
thank you very much for having me. Yeah,
no,
thank you for that. See you later, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye, mate.
That was Mitchell there, Leeds United fan. Obviously, he's buzzing for Leeds to be back in the Prem. Right, I think the last bit that I need to do, bit of housekeeping for this Monday night stream, is the draw for the competition that I put together over the weekend, but I didn't really advertise it as well. But you know, it's one of those things. You know, if you keep watching us, I'll keep trying to involve you in some way, and yeah, just bear with us a second while I just do this. But yeah, the competition that I ran over the weekend was, if you joined the stream on Saturday night, the live stream watch along for Liverpool and Leeds, if you like to share the stream, and then answered the following question, which was, how many goals did Mark Viduka score the last time Leeds were in the Premier League? I'm looking for league goals for that season in the Premier League. How many goals did Mark Viduka score the last time Leeds were in the Premier League? Now, the answer was 11 goals that season. Now, I think I'm looking at the comments. I only had 4 people who were qualified for the competition, which was, if you answer correctly, you win a football shirt of your choice. Now, the 4 people who obviously came in were Chris Hampson, Stuart Jeffrey, Wayne Jones, and Harley Reynolds. And I'm just going to, obviously, as you can see, it's random wheel. So, I will shuffle once. I will click, see who the winner is. And the winner is Harley Reynolds. We have a winner. Harley Reynolds is the winner of the competition. Harley, you get to choose a football shirt of your choice from this season. I will drop you an IM and just let me know which shirt you're looking for. And if you would like it delivered, or I could hand deliver it to you. It'd be great if I could speak to you directly, and maybe get you on a live stream here, or maybe in person, depending on the COVID situation. But yeah, Harley Reynolds is the winner of the competition. I'm sure I'll speak to him at some point tonight. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you or see you at some point in the future. This is Standard 442. Your opinion matters, and I will